Hi, everybody. Welcome to Black Babes Abroad. Here we are, Shayna again. We have Candice, and we have our special guest for today, live from Serbia, is Blair. Blair, would you mind introducing yourself? Just a smidge. Like, what is your name and title as you would like it to appear here?
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me, Shayna and Candice. I am Blair, or Angela Blair, my full name. I'm known as Blair in Belgrade. I'm an American from Massachusetts, and I've been living in Belgrade, Serbia for about 3 years. I came actually June 1st, 2022 at 6 a.m. I was living in Paris before I came here, and I've lived this very expat, child-free, expat businesswoman lifestyle for the last 11 years. And I'm really happy I made this decision actually when I was in the fifth grade. I was just like, I've been planning my exit from the US since the fifth grade. I knew I wanted to live this big, beautiful life. And when I studied abroad in high school, then in grad school, I was like, this is the life I want to live. And I've been really fortunate to bounce around the world, first as an English teacher and having my side hustles. And Serbia has enabled me to transition to as a full-time business owner and influencer. And it's been quite a journey over the last 11 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. We're just diving straight in at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
So, okay. So your journey actually started. From the videos that we've been doing, this is the earliest that the journey has started. You said the fifth grade. So, what would you say that fifth grade you was seeing and experiencing that made her go, I want adventure in the great wide somewhere?
I would say, well, I'm lucky because my parents love books. So I grew up in a house full of books. And uh, I'm a 90s baby. I'm 35. So we only had like one television in the home. Unlike today, every room has television, iPads, and all this stuff. So my way to escape and learn about the world was through books and novels and just reading. That enabled me to see a different world or a different window of like the possibilities of how I can live my life. And living in Massachusetts, which has a lot of great schools, and I lived in like a small suburb, a Black girl growing up with not as many Black people around,
Yeah.
books has enabled me to really escape. So I was always a studious student and knew this a life that I didn't know today. I didn't know about the term expat. Nobody in my community really went abroad. People immigrated to the US, but they didn't go abroad, start business, and have all these like European holidays. I just read in different types of books. And I was just like, okay, we're gonna have a big life. I don't know how, but by the time I went to high school, I did this program called People to People Student Ambassadors Programs. I believe President Eisenhower, he created that program so more Americans can learn about the world abroad. And once I went to Greece, Italy, and France, and that really opened up uh, a world to me that I saw in books. And I was like, okay, how can I live in Europe? How can I live abroad? And in university, I studied political science and I was able to study French in Quebec, Canada. I know it's very close, but still it was a different world because
It's
I was
far
studying at
enough
University
out.
of Naval and
Yeah.
it transformed me like, okay, I can study here. Then I went to grad school and studied abroad. And it was just like, okay, I'm getting closer going as a student, then student to teacher. So it's just really step by step. And I'm really lucky because many people say if you want to have a big, good life, you have to see the first 20 years of your life, nothing can go wrong. So no medical problems, no disabilities, no major setbacks, and just careful planning. And with a lot of luck, people really underestimate luck and being at the right place at the right time and just not only being a good student, but networking and socializing. When I was in university, I was known as like Blair Angela was networking at different events. And when I was in politics, I worked in a lot of different campaigns. And I knew the power of networking and relationships and finding opportunities through people and getting recommendations. So a lot of careful planning.
So, do you prefer Blair or Angela? Just roll.
No, I prefer Blair. Angela's very
Okay.
formal. And when I was a teacher, it was like teacher Angela.
Oh,
But my
okay.
whole brand is Blair in Belgrade, like Emily in Paris. I know it's
Yeah.
very tacky,
We
but
love
it just kind
alliteration.
of
We
stuck
love
with me. Like
alliteration.
when I started taking my
Yeah,
TikTok and YouTube really seriously, people were like, yeah, Blair in Belgrade makes sense.
it
It
just feels good.
sits. It really sits. Okay, so I have heard a number of countries thus far. So you started, it started with the books, and then you went, and then in high school you got to visit three European countries. Where
Yeah,
did you
Greece,
stay?
Italy, and France.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you had the opportunity. So was your ticket in to really being able to stay, get to know the culture, experience
Mhm.
that was through like teaching visas, right? Or was it through?
Yeah, so teaching abroad, this is when I graduated from grad school in 2015. So while I was getting my studies, I got my TEFL certificate
Mhm.
and to teach English, and it helped that I had an undergrad and master's degree, and I was really obsessed to go to China. So I spent a lot of time um, in Asia, but China and Thailand, where I got my work visa to be an English teacher. And that story is actually interesting because it was a lot of luck. I was in China, I was in Chongqing, which is like this now major prosperous city. And it was just too big for me because it was 30 million people. And I was just like, I can't do this.
Right.
So
Yes.
I went
Okay.
to Bangkok and I was staying at a hostel and I was like, okay, how do I find a job? People are like, go to the schools. They want to see your face. People do not like emails. Oh my gosh. So the school I went to actually was right down the street from my hostel. And I walked in and I was lucky because the head teacher, she was just, I happened to run into her in the stairway. And I was like, I'm American, I'm an English teacher. And she was like, oh, wow, we are looking for teachers. And I was like,
Oh my
what?
God.
Wow, what timing? I got an interview. And then I was like, and they're like, okay, we can hire you. And I was like, okay, great. Now I need to find housing because I've been here. They're like, no, it's okay. For foreign teachers, we give you housing.
Oh,
So,
nice.
job, a place to
Yeah.
live, and at the center of Bangkok. And that's really what I was at 25 at the time. I got my first big girl job at 25 teaching English at this business prep private high school in Bangkok.
That's funny. So
Okay, so
I love this hearing your story because I feel like and you talked a lot about like it's the luck, it's the timing, but what do they say? It's like timing is just or luck is preparation and timing type of thing. And I feel like
Mhm.
you've had at least in the mindset like the determination of like it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time, right? And I think the whole thing with luck, and I just love hearing this because it's like you took the steps to your point. You're like, you started with the baby steps, you went out for a trip, and then you studied abroad, and then it kind of built on each other, right? And you had the confidence
Mhm.
to go in and get to Bangkok and be in a hostel and then start looking for jobs, right? And I think that's just something I want to highlight because especially with the time now, and I think so many times we get stuck in our head of like, okay, I need to know the end date. I already need to have the housing before I go.
Mhm.
I already need to have this before I go. But you know, and we know on the call, a lot of times you can't do that. Like there's a lot of things you can't do until you get into the country. And so I think that's also one thing. I don't know if we've chatted about it in these talks before, but like I know we want to have everything figured out and have it pen to paper and have everything in hand before we make that big leap. But a lot of these things, and to be able to make that luck for yourself is taking that first step and kind of trusting that the path will unfold and that things will be easier. I would say most things are easier when you're in that country, of course, legally. But when you're there, it's then easier to navigate. It's then there to ask the people at your hostel, hey, what should I do next? Right. And be able to run into that teacher. So I just love that. Just seeing your tenacity, determination, but because you were prepared, because you were focused on it, like, of course, things just meet up and they're ready for you. So I love that.
Yeah, thank you. And again, like there's different pathways to live this expat life. For those that live in the as a corporate where your jobs send you abroad, they pay for the housing, the moving, or I met a
Yeah.
lot of diplomats. It's different. For teaching English, especially these days, sometimes going on the ground is the best way. If you want to work in
Yeah.
international school, they do have those international recruitment days and they prepare everything abroad. But again, for me, like you said, you have some things you just have to be in the country.
Yeah.
hmm there's a so now there's a what is it called? I let Candice know this, but Blair, by the time this shows up, I'm hoping that people I would have shared it with other folks. But so I officially got my visa for Thailand, which is the destination Thailand visa, and I got the workcation one, which is basically their version of, a digital nomad visa. And one of the things that is interesting about this visa is that before you even get the visa, you have to prove that you have bought a flight into the country. You have to prove that you have lodging in the country. It's basically saying,
Mhm.
hey, I have already prepared a life for me
Mhm.
there. Now, will you give me this visa?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel as though there's an increasing this sentiment of you got to go, you got to put your feet on the ground, and then the rest of it will figure it out. I find it interesting that there is an increase of visa processes that are also following this pattern
Mhm.
of we need to see your commitment. Like you don't have to have everything
Exactly.
figured out, but we do need to see that you want to have your feet on the ground, that you want to be a part of this culture, of this lifestyle. And then we being like the personified government and or immigration services and the traveler or the expat, the immigrant, it's like we'll work together, we'll figure it out. But how badly do you want it?
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
just shows, especially if you're there, and for Blair, it's like, well, you were already there. You were boots on the ground. You're ready. You were looking for the job. You had the credentials. So it was like, well, of course, then it can be handed to you. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. And of course, we'll talk about all of the different, we've already talked about all the different visa processes where there's more and more, and they're changing day by day, it seems. So that's always
Mhm.
something to keep in mind. But it's also just kind of already getting into your mind like the flexibility and also the commitments and kind of leaps that are going to be required in some ways. But that really sets you up to have that good luck come to you because I feel like we've also shared, and many of the women we've interviewed have shared those types of like, oh, it just works, serendipitous moments. But it's like there was a lot of preparation, both physically and
Yes,
mentally, to get to that point. So I just want to honor that and
absolutely. I
highlight that.
mean, buying the flights, having the credentials, and being there it's not enough. But there was a lot of paperwork and prep just for me to land my job or other jobs again. But being there for especially in a lot of emerging markets where I've been, the first point, especially as an English teacher, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
That has made a huge difference. And then schools are happy to help you do the paperwork to sponsor your visa. So this is specifically for teaching English, like
Mhm.
at a not an international school, but at a local school or some of the private schools. They can help you do the paperwork. Because
Excellent.
honestly, not everything's on Google. That's one thing I learned. Everything is not on Google, let alone in English.
Mhm.
So sometimes you really have to be there and get,
Yeah,
word of mouth and find those opportunities and show up.
absolutely.
So for the people that are curious about the TEFL program, I don't know how
TEFL.
TEFL, thank you.
TEFL.
The TEFL
Yeah.
program, I'll be including a link to this in the description. So if you want to start your researching of that, head to the description box. The info will be there. But I want to take it's not a hard left turn because we are talking about I'm so curious about life in Serbia as a Black woman. Like, first of all, how did Serbia end up on your radar?
You
And then
know,
was it about Serbia that made you go,
So
you know what?
the truth is
I
coming
mean,
out. The tea is coming
okay,
out.
I would just have to say my life abroad is very unconventional because I just pop up in many random countries. I used to live in Kazakhstan, the most random country, but the most beautiful country. And I say this is important because I had to learn Russian when I was living there.
Ooh,
And when and it was good. Russian's not that difficult, especially if no one speaks English, so you don't have a choice.
right,
Right,
So
right,
right.
right.
when I came to Serbia, it was 2022. I was living in Paris, and that was the time where they had the presidential election. They had the war in Ukraine broke out, and it was just bad timing overall. So you can be in
Yeah,
the best place, but if it's not your time to
timing.
be there, like it was for me. It was
Mhm.
just not my time. Everything went wrong. So I had to get out of the EU, and I was like, I'm not going back to the United States. No, no. So I looked to the Balkans and I found a flight directly from Paris to Belgrade. And I was like, okay, I don't know anything about this country. I don't know anything about the history, the people. I've moved to many random places. I just gave myself a month to figure it out. If I like it, make it work. And every country, I know I always have to have like certain things so I know that I could live, thrive. And when I came to Belgrade, I knew within a week that I was like, okay, this place can work. It's easy to start a business. Most people speak English here. And as I spent more time, I learned there's no racism here. again, there's no anti-blackness. And I know that's like a big deal. People are like, anti-blackness is a global thing, but not here because historically Yugoslavia, they had really, really good relations under Tito with their Nine Alliance movement. They welcomed African students to study as far back as the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, where there was segregation in the US, where Belgium had those human zoos. There is literally no racism here. So people see me and just like, oh, she's an American. Like one of my most popular TikTok videos is I forget I'm a black woman because race is not something, there's no historic institutional racism here in this country. So being a black woman here, it's more like I stand out more as an American woman versus
Mm.
as a black woman. And my friends now just say, Blair, you're so American. Again, I just, people don't, it's not like they don't see race. The whole Anglo-Saxon, Western, or American or UK style racism just doesn't, that concept does not exist in
Yeah.
this region of the world. Because in the Balkans, it's not like the divider between people, it's more along religious and ethnic lines because people here are technically white,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
The division is the Bosnians are Muslims, the Croats are Catholics, and the Serbs are Orthodox Christians. That's the
Mm.
divider. And then the
Yeah.
whole entire messy history, but not along racial lines. No. So
So
here it's wonderful to be a Black woman. It's
Like I
wonderful
have
to be Black
12,000
American,
questions.
British, Australian. I met many African women here, and it's great because you don't have to worry about race. It's not a thing here.
okay, so this perfectly leads into the next question. How, like, is there a I mean, I understand that we're everywhere, but like, it sounds like there's communities of Black people throughout Serbia, correct? Or is it more of like a nice occurrence when you happen to see a fellow melanated person?
I would have to say, again, given the history where you've had a lot of students, there are a lot of African students still that come and study in Serbia,
Mhm.
and not just only in Belgrade. During, again, Yugoslavia or even the Soviet times, and now you see China inviting Africans to study. So you have these countries that have invited a
Yeah.
lot of melanated people to study here. Also, when it comes to marriage and dating. So I've met a lot of African women or non-Serbian women married to Serbian men. I know a lot of diplomats, so Kenyan diplomats that are married to people that work at the embassy or other
Mhm.
ambassadors. So it's not like community wise, it's more like what brought you here? Is it, for love? Is it for work?
Right.
Is it to study? And more women are, I've met actually some of my followers that follow me on TikTok come here to Belgrade because, like, oh my gosh, we see you. And it's great. Yeah, Belgrade is attracting a lot of tourists. So I wouldn't say there is a Black community. It's just it's a big mix of a
International
lot of
community.
people coming here to travel, to live, to work,
Yeah.
and do
I have
business,
okay,
essentially.
so I have 2,500 questions from that, and this is a whole other interview. But I'd love to hear just your expression now as being a Black woman. And you were saying you're like now I'm more recognized as being American, right? So one question is, how has your American identity, how's that shifted? Have you found people reacting different in the last 3 years? I say this as a question of like many of my friends are like, oh, how are Americans being treated in Europe right now? Like, do they not want us there? Or do they pity us? What's happening? Because I have friends who are like looking to move over. So I'd love to hear how that's hitting in Serbia. And then kind of the second question to that is what other parts of your identity have you kind of been able to tap into without the weight of being a Black woman, right? Like having that kind of lifted off and being able to kind of take that shield off, so to speak. I'd love to hear what personally has emerged from you from this move.
Well, America and Serbia has a delicate history because of the NATO
Right.
bombings in the 90s. So for
Right.
the older generation, there's still a lot of tension. But there are a lot of Serbs that live in the US, especially Chicago, that has the biggest Serbian community.
Okay.
And in Yugoslavia in the 90s, a lot of people left. So here as an American, people don't be like, oh gosh, you're American. They like Americans,
Yeah.
but Serbs are very proud people. They're not trying to copy American culture. They have a beautiful culture, language,
Right.
food, and music in the way of doing life here. So as an American, there is American privilege, and I absolutely
Yeah.
take advantage of that,
Yeah.
my education, my background, my ability to navigate. As far as identity, other communities I've been able to tap into, I am Jewish, so I'm part of the Jewish community here, and every country that I lived or traveled to, I am able to pray with that community. So that has been an incredible way to settle and get
Yeah.
to know other types of people that, I wouldn't meet every day. As an expat, I would say like I'm not the average expat. I didn't come with a husband. I didn't come with a corporate job. So for me as a business owner, the circles and the people that I meet are very different. So I do a lot of networking. I'm also the ambassador for the Internations Belgrade chapter. So that enables me to tap into that community. So I would say I'm very savvy when it comes to going to a country and not only just tapping to my Americanness, but also to my religious community, to the
Yeah.
business community, and to other social and private clubs where I can meet other people.
Very good. And
So
I think that's one thing we wanted to highlight, because I know we've talked about a lot is it's a whole thing to get abroad, right? But then to stay abroad. And I think many times now, especially the conversations happening with Black women coming from the States is like, okay, yes, how do I get out? But like, how do I actually stay out maybe? And how do I make a life abroad, right? And community is, I feel like one of the biggest indicators of whether you're going to stay or whether you're going to go. If you find a strong community at that place, I think that's one of the things that can really take you in and really of course make you feel comfortable. So I just love to highlight that as like finding a community. So whether it's religious, whether it's from work or trade or hobbies or something, but having some type of community that you can already nestle into in that new country is 10 out of 10. So I just love that you've highlighted that and also been savvy with networking. And again, there is an American privilege in some countries. Again, it changes, but I know in Denmark, honestly, a lot of people are just like feel bad for us now. And I think especially being a Black woman, they understand enough because they are so in tune with the Western society. They understand enough that it's like, oh, come here, come here, let us save you, let us be safe here, please, so I think it's also using the American privilege that you do have, where I'm like, I know that, our visa and my speaking of English as my native language and all of these things helped me in the job market and helped build a community. And so it's like use it where you can. Don't feel I used to feel guilty, but it's like use it where you can and then uplift others if you can with that. So
I'd
yeah,
also
thank you
like to
for
talk a
sharing
little
that.
bit about the because I think that there's like American privilege and now there's like something that's really, especially with this era of Trump and this administration that we're in, as three Black women that have lived abroad in multiple countries and are now like experience. I'm temporarily back in the States. I don't want to talk about it, but it's fine. I'm heading out. I got my visa. But I think that there's also something that is really interesting about being a Black American woman abroad because I find that more so now than ever when and not to say like this is not to discourage the white people or the white ladies from traveling, you guys are fine, but like
I'll be fine.
it's fine. But like as a Black woman, like the first time that I traveled outside of the United States around the time of the first Trump presidency, everywhere that I would go, people would be like, to my white classmates, they'd be like, ah, just another American. I don't know how you voted. And then to me, it'd be like, hey, how are you?
Yeah,
Would
exactly.
you like a free glass of wine?
And I would.
How's the
And I will take
family?
that privilege. Yes, I will. Thank you.
Every single time. And I'm like, oh, this is so, and I'm finding that this is an experience that's happening more and more the more that I travel, which I don't think is a unique thing to me, but I think that it is a thing where as a global society, people are realizing what Black women have had to endure, are currently enduring, and as it relates to current politics in the US, when we
Mhm.
leave, I feel like there's almost like a, oh come like the oh come here. Just
Sure, come here, child.
we got you,
You'll
sweetheart.
be
Don't
okay.
even. Yeah, which is interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't really have like a question to that, but it
Yeah,
is.
no, I think you make a good point. I would have to say here, I found really coming my most beautiful self as a Black woman here because there's no, I wouldn't say Eurocentric beauty standards. It's more so they see Black women or Black people as attractive people. There's no threat of, okay, the ideal Serbian woman. I mean, for me, yes, I have slim privilege. I have naturally long hair. But still, like when people stop me like, wow, you're beautiful, especially when I'm wearing my hair in my big bun. Also, being beautiful here is affordable. Going to the hair salon, going to the nail salon, going just living your most beautiful self is affordable here. And as far as again, there's no racism here. I just don't have to stress about, oh my gosh, is someone to be racist towards me? It really helps. I don't think people understand to live in a society where you don't literally have, there's no history of racism here against at least Black people. It really kind of takes that burden or that fear off your shoulder when you're walking. Like I can walk at any time, day or night, so it's very safe for
Mm.
women. I don't have to fear about people like hating me for my race. I mean, the only people that I have problems with, and this might not be polite to say, but I'll say it, is white American women. Here, the ones I come and
Shocking.
encounter with their microaggressions when they see
Color
me,
me
and
surprised.
especially when I'm in certain, I guess I've been in a lot of elite circles. I've met the royal family. I've been in some spaces where and I even say with the Jewish community, when I come in those spaces, like, how are you here? Why are you here? Asking these probing questions. It's always coming from white American women or Israelis. And it's just like, I belong here. I don't owe you an explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So it's great to live your most beautiful and healthy lifestyle when you live in a society that embraces you, lifts you up. I mean, I've been featured in the media here. I've been on TV here. People love my story. And again, it's not just because I'm a Black woman, because I'm American. Why did I choose Serbia? Serbia has a really bad reputation that was strategic by the West, by the way. So they love to hear me as an American share my positive experience because people still don't know a lot about Serbia and
Mhm.
the negativity from the 90s and how Serbs were painted is it's really painful. So it has left a permanent stain. So part of my brand is just to really show people that this is an amazing country. These are amazing and honest people. You can have a beautiful life here.
I got
So I love Serbia and Serbia loves me. So that's why I think I can be my most beautiful self.
I got
Oh,
two
no.
questions for you because I am so intrigued. One, this is a quick, relatively personal question. How cold does it get in Serbia?
Well,
Personal.
with the climate change, the winters are not as cold as it used to be. They don't have as much snow. And I'm from Massachusetts, so I know snow and
You get
cold
it.
weather.
Hmm.
So it does get cold in January, but it's not like bone chilling cold. You
Hmm.
definitely need like the proper jacket and wear some layers. And most of the places here have like heating systems or those AC unit that turns heat and AC. So it's very insulated when it comes to housing. So it's not bone chilling cold,
Okay,
but it
so
does
like
get cold.
around how warm does it get in Serbia?
The summers here get are hot now. They're hot. They're
Mm.
they're 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 getting hot.
But you
And
said
after
AC,
living in Thailand,
which
I have my sun umbrella. I'm like a Chinese woman. I'm afraid of the sun. I have a sun umbrella. I have a UV jacket. Because it is no joke here. It's the summers here are getting dangerously hot.
Okay. Yikes for climate change. And I might make a visit when it's warm. I am
Yeah,
so
sounds like so
come.
intrigued
fall.
right
It sounds
now.
like fall is going to be a cute time. I'm like maybe a fall trip to
Yeah,
Belgrade.
come in
Love
the
that.
fall. I mean, even the summertime, it's good. I mean, there's AC here everywhere. It's just you just have to be aware that it's not like you can't just walk out in the sun. You definitely need some sunscreen. You definitely need a sun hat. So,
Yeah, we protect
Mhm.
our
yeah.
end. Okay, I love that.
Second question, as it relates to visas. So what kind of visa what was your visa journey, I guess? Is it kind of like, I think, is Serbia part of the EU? I really
No,
can't.
Serbia is not part of the EU, and
Okay.
I'm happy for that. It's not. And basically, you have the 90-day visa as a tourist visa. Since I started business, I got my visa through my business. So that's how I have my residency.
Mhm.
And they don't have like a digital nomad visa, but they do, you can kind of go in and out of the country, apply for a visa through residency, buy property, marrying a Serb, or even living with a Serb. Or getting a job here. So it's quite flexible. Serbia is open to foreigners. They want people to come to visit, to live here, and to buy here.
And so did you were able to go there first and then just start your business and then get your visa through your own business?
exactly, and open my business bank
Amazing.
account and everything. It was actually really simple. And I've tried this in many
Amazing.
different countries
Yeah.
where it was just, I was priced out. I didn't have 100,000 euros to put as
Right.
capital. So here it was about 5,000 euros in your bank, have like a 1 year lease, show all your paperwork for your business, bada boom, bada bang. Like,
Nice.
there you go.
Ooh, I
And
love
now
that.
you're a resident, so you could stay for as long as you. This isn't like, oh, I have to
You
get
can
this.
always apply and stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's very simple, straightforward process.
I I am so like I really want to reiterate how grateful that I am that you reached out because I really knew nothing
Yeah.
about Serbia, about
Most people don't.
yeah.
And
Most
I'm like
people
booking my
honestly,
flight right now. I'm like, got it.
yes,
I want to be
I
my
say,
most beautiful
ladies,
self in
come,
Serbia.
especially if you're single. I really want to talk about
Oh
the
yeah,
dating
let's
culture
dive
here.
right into it.
The
So
rest of the time
feel
is for
free.
you, y'all. Oh,
What is the experience of men? I'm sorry, I'm so far removed from dating. I don't even know how to
Yeah.
talk about it.
No, I mean, honestly,
same.
one thing about being a Black woman here, yes, you stand out. But when I came here, I was surprised by how so many foreign women are married or dating Serbian men. I was surprised because it's always the opposite. In every country I lived in, you see, you know, men of foreign women with the, actually, no, local women with foreign men. But here it's the opposite. Because Serbian men, they're very tall. So actually, Serbs and Montenegro people are some of the tallest in the world. So you don't have to worry about, height. People here are tall. Men and women are very tall here.
Love that.
And people are very athletically built. People here are Orthodox Christians, so they are conservative. So when it comes to marriage, people date with intention. People here are very good looking. I have to say, Serbs are quite good looking. They speak very good English. People are very well traveled because during Yugoslavia, people traveled through the coast. They studied
Mhm.
abroad. I mean, it was an interesting time. And as far as the dating culture here, you just have to go outside. Like you can meet people in real life. You
Oh,
don't
so it's
have.
a
I've
relatively
never been on the
friendly
apps because there's
society where
no
people can
need.
like, so it's
Yeah,
like, a
yeah. You
yeah, so
just
people like talk to each other. It's not
People
like based
do.
on the
It's not
dating.
even just dating, like at the grocery store, walking down the street. This is a culture
Oh,
where people are not afraid to, it's not like a US, everyone's stranger danger. You just talk to people. It's
see,
really beautiful to see
I
and
love that. And
experience.
it's funny because I feel like the States, and I was talking about one of the things I miss from the States, which is very little if it's not food. But one of the things was small talk, and not in every city, but like small talk with your neighbors or small talk at the coffee shop or small talk like that. And I think that's something I miss, but it's great to hear that people are just open to conversation because, yeah, like I feel like now it's always like the apps or where do you find friends or how do you find the community? And many of the times it sounds like through your experience in networking, and I know mine was like, well, I just went out and I happened to talk to a person that knew a person that knew a person. And a lot of how you can make connections, I feel like, especially to really get into the community you're living in, is to talk to people from the community. But that does feel like the scariest thing sometimes from American culture, where it is like, well, I don't know, I can't trust people, or I don't know, like I have to vet them first to make sure they're verified. So that's really lovely to hear that people are just, you can kind of make those connections on the ground.
Yes, and I just have to say with Serbs here, people don't look exactly friendly because people are not walking around smiling. That's one thing I've learned. So people are friendly, they're just not going to be smiling all the time. But it's very
Same, honestly
interesting.
relatable.
Yeah, I've dated here. I'm now I do have a boyfriend now. But again, that was through just right time, right place,
Yeah.
and it was just it's natural. It's not like something I have to go out and date. Like people here, the cafes are always full.
Yeah.
It's. I have a friend coming from China. She's gonna come visit here. She's originally from the Caribbean, and I'm like, girl, I'm gonna help you date and find your Serbian man because it's gonna be really, really interesting and
That
All
is
organic.
right.
interesting. I really don't hear people advocating for the men of the countries that they are living in
At all. You can just
ever.
advocating for men. But
Like
I
like for
can
me
relate.
living in Spain and like when I'm like I've lived in a couple of countries. I think the like I had a fine time dating when I was in the US. I didn't date when I was in Mexico, but I did. I was like it was a very friendly country and all the cities that I went to, there was a lot of just like you go outside and just meet
Mhm.
people. I proactively did not date in Spain. I said, what happened? So, and like a lot of the people this is the first time that I've spoken to somebody that is
Mhm.
like, No, I
Like
recommend.
date our men, date these men, please.
These are
This is the first
machismo
time.
men. Yes, yes. Come on, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm all for, living your best life and decentering men. But if you want to eventually settle down or date, and I have to say, for me, again, I've been in a very certain class of men, like the 1% here. Um, People are very educated, well traveled, and yes, use that American Black women. They don't fetishize me, but people do say, "Wow, you're interesting. You have good energy. You have great personality." So if you're a woman, definitely step it up because Serbian women dress really nicely. So you can't use just jeans and no, no. These
Okay.
these are glamorous women. So if you're gonna
Um,
come here,
that's that.
you need to bring it.
You need
Okay.
heels.
Okay.
You
But
need
I'll
the.
yeah, I would
capture
have
that
to say if you
before
want to
I come.
date, because there's I'm not saying be a passport sister, but I've met a lot of women that have successfully made dated and married Serbian men. They're living their best life here. So this is a good option.
For the
Very
people
good.
that are curious, you heard it here first. Um, and with the time that we have left, I want to make sure that we get this and then we could continue chatting before
Mhm.
we gotta go. But definitely let the people know where they can find you. And I will include all the links to what she says in the description.
Yeah, so you can find me here on YouTube, Blair in Belgrade. And I have my website, blairinbelgrade.com. I'm really known on TikTok, where I share everyday videos, my observations, Blair in Belgrade. So, and then, yes, I have Blair in Belgrade everywhere. And if you want to plan your travels, I am partnered with the travel agency, so I can help curate your experience here. I also have my own personal experience Belgrade with Blair. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just type Blair in Belgrade. That's how you find me.
All in the description. And this is a detail, but I really want to circle back. You're, first of all, beautiful hair. You have a loctician in Serbia?
No, I do my hair. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
trust
She is the
anybody with my
loctician.
hair. So
I was about to
I've
say
had my
they do it
locks
all.
for 15 years. Yeah. So I
Okay.
do my hair. I actually used to do hair on the side because I had a hair business when I lived in Thailand. So no, there's no locticians. But fun fact, a lot of Serbian women actually do box braids, and it's not cultural appropriation. It is totally normal here. So you see in the summertime a lot of Black women with, I'm sorry, Serbian women with box braids, and it's perfectly normal.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
Okay.
to
And you're
know.
able to find
I would have
all of
been
the
jarred.
materials
So
you
good to know.
you're able to find all the materials you need. Like you don't like
Yeah, there are salons here. There are a lot of African women that do braid hair in their homes. So yeah, you can get your hair braided here, but just don't be surprised when you see Serbian women with box braids. It's not. It's okay.
okay.
We will pass.
Guys, well, not even guys. Blair, thank you so much for all of this information. Once again, guys, if you want more information about Blair and all of her journeys and the information that she has, where to find her is in the description. Candace, I don't know if you want to do a fun little sign off in between now. We've got a couple seconds or
Oh, just saying again, thank you to Blair. This was amazing. I just love these chats. Thank you to all of the community who has just been so active with this. I love it. More Black babes abroad. Like, let's go.
amazing. See you guys
Good.
next time.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.